Creatine is extremely important in overall long-term body's health. Creatine actually helps allow the muscle of our body to retain fluid. Bodybuilders are drawn to this because it makes their muscles look bigger. But like if you're not a bodybuilder, why would you consider using creatine? Well, because it has a huge amount of other water-related benefits. Hydration is fundamentally necessary for us to survive. That goes into your brain health. It goes into your organs health. If you're not staying ultimately hydrated and your body doesn't sustain proper amounts of water levels, you're going to feel and look like shit. Giving the muscle a healthier water content to it to make it stronger is going to make the body healthy. Welcome to the ManLab, where we combine science and health in the pursuit of making men great again.
This is how legends are born. This is how legends are born.
Welcome back to the ManLab. Today we're going to be covering creatine. Now, creatine is typically known as the bodybuilding supplement that a lot of people have grown to know it by. I'm one of those people that are guilty of this misnomer. And what we're going to be doing today is covering actual cognitive benefits, anti-aging, and just overall health with microdosing creatine supplements. Now, before we jump into this podcast, let's just mention that T-Clinics USA offers a 10% off your first package for any peptides, testosterone, whatever it is you're looking into getting, just by mentioning the ManLab. To get that, go to bit.ly/T-Clinics USA. That link is in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. Mention the ManLab in the contact form and you will get 10% off your first package. So, Alex, Jeff, creatine. I've been one of these guilty people who I saw it in high school. Guys would take creatine, they'd blow up like the Michelin Man. And that's not for me. We've been hearing a lot of conversation around creatine now with its, overall health benefits. Who could it be even used for? I've heard as even elderly ladies could be taking small amounts of creatine.
Yeah, this is the first show we've actually done on just a supplement, and
we don't carry.
We don't even sell, but we just thought it was really important to talk about this amazing supplement that I think gets villainized for stupid reasons, and a lot of people who could very much improve their health and very much improve their longevity by integrating creatine into their daily lives. It's a super cheap and extremely easy supplement that every single person listening to this, not only they should take it, but their wives, their kids, their parents, their grandparents should be on. Creatine is extremely important in overall long-term body's health. It's first off, it's found generally in a lot of different meat products, generally like steak and pork and salmon, tuna, but in very small amounts. And so creatine actually helps allow the muscle of our body to retain fluid, right? So bodybuilders are drawn to this because it makes their muscles look bigger and look more full and be stronger, of course. But like if you're not a bodybuilder, why would you consider using creatine? Well, because it has a huge amount of other water-related benefits. So hydration is fundamentally necessary for us to survive. And, that goes beyond just the muscle tissue. That goes into your brain health. It goes into your organs health. And so if you're not staying ultimately hydrated and your body doesn't sustain proper amounts of water levels, you're going to feel and look like shit. So I, was similar to you, man. I was always looking for that drier, leaner look. And I was always a little worried that creatine would kind of go against the grain and make me look bloated, because I too remember, when I first got into the weight training game, we would take Celtec and these other products that were just loaded with a bunch of sugar that you were told you had to use with creatine to work.
Or juice.
Which was
you had to mix
bullshit.
it in grape juice.
They had these loading phases and all this nonsense that I think they just came out with as a means of having you take a shit ton of it to charge up the cost. And come to find out that all that was basically BS. So there is no loading phase of creatine. There's no requirement to take it with sugar or juices. There's no necessary max your body's volume of it out to be effective. You can take anywhere from 3 to 5 grams is probably the daily recommended
Grams
dose.
or milligrams?
Grams.
Grams.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a gram. where I
3,000
do 10. I do 10 a day myself, and I've seen studies where they're using it now for older people who have like Alzheimer's to be using 20 milligrams. And sarcopenia is the loss of muscle tissue as you get older. Like one of the reasons why we have so much problems as we get older is we are not strong, where you don't have the muscle tone, to prevent your hips from breaking and getting up and down. Mobility becomes more problematic. And so, of course, like giving the muscle a healthier, water content to it to make it stronger is going to make it the body healthy.
Find out if you may have low testosterone for free with the Atom test. Now, sometimes it's a little bit nerve-wracking to go into a clinic to get a full blood panel to find out your hormone levels. And sometimes you might just want to sort of kick the tires just a little bit. If you are that person, the Atom test is for you. All it is a couple of questions that are completely non-intrusive, non-invasive, that will help give an indication to you whether you may or may not have low testosterone. And the best part is the Atom test is accurate up to 88% of the time. So for something as simple as a questionnaire, that is a very high number. Now, if you want to make use of that, you can do it online right now. It takes less than 30 seconds to fill out, and it is at bit.ly/free Atom test. That's free ADAM test. Now, if you don't want to remember that, the link is in the description of wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. And then after you've filled out the questionnaire, you will now have a better idea of whether you may or may not have low testosterone, and if you need to take the next step, which is a detailed blood panel with a clinic such as T-Clinics USA. So again, to make use of that, go to bit.ly/free Atom test, and let's continue to making men great again. Let's get back to the show. What's the amount so people can sort of maybe, you mentioned 5 grams is great for the microdose, 3 to 5 grams.
3 to 5.
So people can avoid if they wanted to like maybe up it. What's the amount that people were typically taking when they did have that blowout
Well, so
phase?
they would usually load, like you were in the 20 gram range. They were like, oh, you got to load 20 grams for 2 weeks or whatever. And I'll take a step back. It's probably the most researched supplement in history, right? Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of forms out there, and we'll talk about like just,
a lot of them are hype and bullshit.
Yeah, it's everyone has to try to stay relevant, come up with their own version, or like for the people like, oh, I got bloated, they come up with the buffered creatine. Like
it can make you like have some stomach GI issues, and again, that just always comes down to like proper dosing and staging of it. Like if you were to put 20 grams of creatine in a cup of water and slam it, there's a good percentage of population that would have probably some diarrhea and some constant, some
and what
GI
causes
problem.
that is like
maybe just the chemical itself. I really don't know why.
Too, like if it's not a higher quality or just the type of creatine that they use. Too much water in your gastric system isn't healthy either. The reason you get diarrhea is when you get like a lot of water flushing into your GI tract. If you take like Senna or some of these like digestive aids, half of them force water into your GI tract in order to make you go to the bathroom to kind of loosen up your stool. And so again, like if you're taking in a powder that has a tendency to draw fluid in, I can't imagine that wouldn't have some negative recourse on your going to the bathroom routine. So that too may be one of the villainizations of creatine, like the feeling bloated and the digestive kind of problem. But again, that's being uneducated on how much to use, because you're going by a supplements company who's trying to get you to buy more and use more of it, so consumption. And also maybe people just like jumping straight to the recommended daily dose who have a more higher sensitivity. So, you could introduce maybe like 2-3 grams a day at first and see how that treats you, and then slowly build up enough until you get to that 5 gram mark. To add to that, I feel like it's been villainized because a lot of people add that to the mix, but they don't look at the excessive amount of carbohydrates, sodium in their diet that was causing the water retention from it. Like if you have a pretty solid diet, obviously you need sodium in your diet, but a good amount of fluid intake, obviously the more water you drink, the you're going to excrete the difference of. I think it most of that went back to like the people's diet. They were just adding that in. So of course they're going to have more fluid, but they had the other variables that were making them very watery. And
well, it's funny because you think about like water retention. And you think, well, if I drink a lot of water, I look bloated, and it's the opposite, right? I mean, the people who have the most edema,
your body doesn't have to
and
hold
the
on
most
to
bloated is the person who's most dehydrated.
Yeah.
I mean, to a point, right? Like, of course, like in the bodybuilding world, when you really get somebody towards that last day, you're giving them like gallons and gallons and gallons of water prior, so their body gets used to flushing, and then you cut off what you put in, but the body's still used to that. What's that chemical?
So our body will maintain our water balance through aldosterone, right? So the more fluid you take in, aldosterone will go down, and you start freely excreting. Whereas if the less water you consume, it'll raise aldosterone, and then when fluid comes in, it retains whatever it can to try to fix the water balance in the system.
Yeah.
How does creatine? So I think we missed this part because I actually don't exactly understand. Besides creatine helping water retention, how does it do that in the body?
So I mean, well, one of the main, and we're talking about like muscle and hydration to the muscles, because the muscles are 70% water, obviously. So I was just called out by Blake that I say obviously a lot. So sorry if I do that. But one of the main factors of why somebody would want to take creatine is it actually helps ATP transport to the cells of the body.
Okay.
So adenosine triphosphate, which is kind of like the food, like it's amino acids that basically transport to the cells, the mitochondria. We've talked about it with the NAD and methylene blue and some of this other stuff. It's the energy or the food that goes to the cells of our body.
Okay, and so it just helps with that, which helps with interesting. So and
then again, a healthy cell is going to be a cell that is thirsty, that essentially is voluminous, and so like that fuller looking muscle tissue is going to come from from essentially the, I don't say this, the byproduct of, because it's kind of a side effect, if you will, of taking creatine. But that's why most people in the weightlifting world do it. But think about this: healthier skin. Like your skin looks great when it's hydrated, not crepey and wrinkled. Like your hair is going to be more nicer texture when you're a hydrated person. Like like everything in your body
brain
when you're
as well. Like that,
of
your
course.
brain takes up a lot of
Absolutely.
water.
So anyway, so there's lots of studies coming out now about utilizing creatine as a means of protecting people who have Parkinson's disorder, as a means who have Alzheimer's, dementia, like cognitive decline, anything cognitive related. Even post-COVID, people were having big like COVID brain, or what were they calling it, like the long COVID or whatever.
COVID.
People using it. We use it as prevention for hangovers.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go out drinking, take a dose of creatine before you go out, and with a big glass of water, because you're going to get that much
5 milligrams or more, like 20.
5 grams, not
Sorry.
grams.
Well, because you'll probably hold a lot. Because you dehydrate.
Depends
from
on how much I'm
drinking,
going
right?
to drink, but I'll do 5 grams before I go out. And if I can remember when I come home, I will do 5 grams at night before I go to sleep too, along with like activated charcoal and some other, glutathione and things that will definitely help the body kind of filter out.
Glutathione before you go to bed drunk?
No, I have a liposomal version, an oral version too.
That's risky.
Yeah, I have an oral version.
So I want
as
to
well.
kind of add, because like think about, a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the world we're in now. Obviously, I used to be in the bodybuilding / fitness side of things, but everything goes down to a cellular level. And so, being in this space for so long with a lot of the things that help cell or mitigate cell damage or provide cell power, that's longevity, right? So that's where all these applications, it's always been there. It's just when you really look at what it's doing on a cellular level, trillions of cells in our body, whether it be for cognitive function, eyesight, hearing, across the board, if you could get the ATP to the cell, and the cell has energy to do its normal function, whatever that function may be in the body, it's longevity.
Nuviva Medical Weight Loss has helped over 50,000 men and women in Florida lose over 500,000 pounds in body fat. Now, there are wonder drugs out there like semaglutide and tirzepatide, but it's important that these tools are used properly and safely with the correct guidance, because that guidance is what will help you make sure that you're losing that unwanted body fat while keeping the lean muscle mass. Nuviva Medical Weight Loss has over 10 clinics statewide in Florida with expert coaches who are with you the entire way, helping you with any habit adjustment, large or small. The secret behind Nuviva's continual success with their clients is their in-office expert experience. You will speak directly with a support coach, and if you have any questions, you will get immediate answers. If you are struggling, you will get immediate adjustments or pivots that will keep you on track with your goals. And what's great is you can choose the route of your weight loss goals. So if you just want to take diet adjustments and some supplements, you can do it. However, if you want to go a little bit of a stronger, faster approach and use semaglutide or tirzepatide, the Nuviva expert coaches can also help you along the way with that as well. So if you have a lot of pounds to lose or even just a few pounds and you know that having some support with an expert coach will get you there faster, contact Nuviva at either nuvivaweightloss.com or send them a message on Instagram at Nuviva Weight Loss and mention the ManLab for a little perk. That is Nuviva, Nuviva weightloss.com or at Nuviva Weight Loss on Instagram. So hit up Nuviva, get an expert coach, get that support you want, and let's get you feeling amazing again and lighter again. Let's get back to the show. Quickly, before we get back to the episode, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't on whatever channel you're watching or listening to the ManLab. And if you're listening on Spotify, if you could leave a 5-star review on the channel page, that would be greatly appreciated because that will help continue to push it a little bit further for whoever is looking for information to help improve their health. Now, on the topic of information, if you are on YouTube, you can leave a comment below on this episode and we will respond to it with as much information as possible, or it might be another episode down the road. The reason this is important is because the more questions you guys ask, the more we know what we need to do to serve you guys better in future episodes. So comment on YouTube, leave a 5-star review, hit subscribe, and let's continue to help making men great again. Let's get back to the show. You mentioned kids as well. Like that's even fine for them.
It's not It's not going to harm your hormones. It's not going to change your growth plates. It's not going to. It doesn't have toxicity. Like, why would your kid not want to do this? Like, why would you not want to give a growing body more capability of retaining more fluid and having a healthier brain and have healthier muscle tissue, healthier cells? Like, for the same reason why you wouldn't give it to your grandparents, you would give it to your kid. I think there's probably a little bit of like maybe under 10 or something. I mean, I don't know where the studies have ever happened, and I don't know kids.
But if I got paid for every time that was like, oh, is creatine safe? I heard A, B, C, D, E. I just got a text yesterday from a longtime friend asking about creatine for his daughter. I'm like, absolutely. It's
just decrease the dose, like maybe a gram instead.
Yeah,
because it's body weight dependent to a point, right? I mean, like what would be good for us, wouldn't give to a 10-year-old little girl, but 2 grams, because you don't upset her stomach either. But there's no. Like again, it's in steak. You're not like you're not taking a hormone. I remember when I was doing the research for this, like there was some stupid questions that people asked about it. Like, does it increase hair loss? Will it increase prostate, cancer? And it's like those things are maybe to some degree related to people who use creatine because they're probably also people who take testosterone boosters or something in the prostate or the testosterone world. So of course, if you're taking creatine, you may work out more, which therefore may raise your testosterone, which theoretically can trigger DHT development, which therefore can cause hair loss.
But it's going to pick up your creatinine on your blood work.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, creatinine, which is like your kidney function, is nothing to do with taking creatine. They just look similar as far as the spelling.
You might get renal failure insufficiency.
Yeah. There's nothing proven that.
Not at the dose. Like again, I mean, the poisons.
Well, it's the other thing they're not doing. If they're not hydrating, if they got a poor diet, if they're severely obese.
I'm sure there's a toxicity level. Again, would I be careless enough to sit around and do 50 grams of it daily? First, that's a waste of money. Secondly, I'd probably be shitting my brains out. But then, yeah, I'm sure I would have a toxicity on other components of my body because it's just being careless with it. Like, be responsible. But I will tell you, like, people are, it's not good for those who are trying to lose weight. Well, because, you're allowing the muscle to stay hydrated. So if you have a dehydrated muscle, then arguably you're going to lose weight. But that's like bad weight to want to lose.
You're going to shift 3 to 5 pounds regardless if you go from low carbs to carbs or if you add creatine. And when you first start, you probably will see some weight go up.
Yeah, let me just kind of like re-educate everybody who's listening just because, it's super important to understand, but most people unfortunately don't. When you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to lose fat. You're not trying to lose muscle. You're trying to keep as much muscle as you possibly can through the weight loss process because muscle is the driving force to your metabolism. You have a strong...
not the accurate thing that you should only focus on.
Well, yeah, because you should have a strong metabolism. So when you do reintroduce food, you have the horsepower to burn those calories. Otherwise, your metabolism gets slowed down and kind of screwed up over time. It's like the analogy I use often of the difference between like an 8-cylinder vehicle engine and a 4-cylinder vehicle engine in a car, you know, a V8 is going to burn gas quick, where a V4 not so quick. And so that same amount of fuel into those two vehicles will be burnt up a lot faster in the car with the big ass engine. If you got a lot of muscle and you eat a piece of pizza, like I eat pizza, and then, you know, my grandma eats a pizza, I guarantee you I'm going to burn that pizza up quicker because I carry a lot more muscle than rest her soul, but my grandma's not alive anymore. But when she was alive.
Okay, that changed everything. You're definitely not going to lose those
she's not losing anymore. But when she would have. But, you know, I mean, legitimately, like, you don't want to take away the good thing about your body, right? So if you're trying to lose weight and someone tells you, I think you should add creatine, don't look at them like they got, you know, it's a stupid answer. Because like I tell our weight loss clients, start taking creatine, because the biggest concern about taking tirzepatide or semaglutide or any diet for that matter is losing muscle tissue. You lose muscle, you are screwed, because what's going to happen is you will be stuck on a dieting yo-yo your whole freaking life.
You're slowing down your metabolism.
What happens is you lose 12 and then you're going to gain back 14. Yeah. And then you lose those 14 and then you gain back 18. And then you lose those 18, you gain back 22. And the reason being because every time you do it, you're losing more and more and more of that metabolic health. And so if you take creatine with those drugs, semaglutide, tirzepatide, or any diet for that matter, you're going to allow your muscle to stay healthier and stronger. You will have a better long-term weight loss success, and you will have a significant improvement in the ability to keep the weight off once that's all finished. Whoa. So not only is it great when you're trying to bulk up and put on muscle tissue, but it's even better to keep your body from losing that muscle through both age-related disorders, hormone declines, getting sick, wasting away. Keep creatine in your body, keep you nice and healthy. So you said before, you know, you're concerned about it because you don't want to be like this big bloated guy.
Yeah.
Think about if we
I've now been on for 2 months though, and I can confirm that you won't be.
You look leaner because what's happening is all that water that kind of sits above the tissue gets forced into the muscle. The muscle looks full and expanded and kind of fills in, and then the skin kind of looks like saran wrap on it. So when you're really hydrated, your skin gets super thin, you get vascular, your muscle pops, and you look a lot better. You know, when you're dehydrated, your muscles look flat and you look kind of flabby and kind of soft.
You also feel flat mentally too.
For sure.
That's the big thing.
Well, especially on a diet or a low carb diet, you don't have that glycogen in the muscles, so you actually feel like just kind of like soft.
Yeah, look at a bodybuilder like who's going into that early stages of like their kind of depletion stage. Their face looks all aged out too. I mean, granted, they're losing a lot of structural fat in their face, but they're losing a lot of water too, and they just look dried out and old. They look old as shit. Like I remember Jeff would do shows and like, bro, you aged like 15 years in 3 months, because his face was so dried out, you know. And again, taking creatine can help even that. Even like a woman who wants fuller lips or under eyes to be more, you know, kind of soft and not have like the lines here, like all that can be somewhat softened by taking creatine.
Well, and I like it, and anybody who's dieting, even like for our clients at the clinic, because they're already having a lower amount of food consumption coming in. So they already have a lesser amount of potential ATP that's going to get to the cells. So you got to remember, ATP is our body's like energy currency, right? So obviously. And so, you know, obviously, but you want to be able to, it's going to help you produce more ATP. And so I would say everybody who's on a diet should be taking it. Drastic improvement, as long as, once again, stay hydrated, add it to the mix. You're going to have, your energy levels will go up, your cognitive function will go up. There's everything down the line.
Is there anyone that shouldn't take it, or is...
I mean, I would say somebody who is
but again, like that still doesn't make sense to me. Like I think arguably you should.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you want to have a healthy
to the fetus?
I would say anyone with a severe cardiac.
Legally, we're saying don't.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, anybody with a severe cardiac history, they're on cardiac meds, they're on diuretics already. You know, it's kind of one of those things you don't want to cause this like
even if you
constant
had high blood pressure. Like I would think like people would be scared to think, well, if I take creatine, it's going to raise my blood pressure because it's going to bring in water
and you would
content.
start low either way.
At the same time, again, like you're regulating water into the muscle as opposed to it being subcutaneous, which is where blood pressure rising comes from.
Well, typically at the kidney level, right? So if you have a severe kidney issue or you have severe cardiac and you're on things that you're trying to excrete excess fluid, a lot of those clients, they're not doing the other stuff. They're not watching their diet. They're not exercising. So it could pose some risks there.
So maybe if you have like extreme like kidney function failure issues, that you probably should avoid putting anything extra into your
Congestive
system.
heart failure.
Or liver problems, because I mean, it is a supplement, a chemical that the body has to work harder at processing. But if you have normal functioning systems, I don't think there's a person that shouldn't do
But
it.
you know, listen, you could even argue, and I'm not telling people to do it, but even with congestive heart failure, like if you're doing the necessary stuff, you're hydrating really well, and your diet's good, like you would have a benefit, not a negative, when it comes to taking creatine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Like women have this kind of they're scared of creatine.
Yeah, I told my mum to start taking it, and I may as well have said to her, like, start taking. Yeah, mum. I may as well have told her to start taking steroids. The fear in her face was like, absolutely not. Hey guys, so just quickly, we've noticed a lot of you commenting that you're not sure where you can go to get trusted and safe peptides, semaglutide, tirzepatide, testosterone replacement therapy, or testosterone boosting therapy. And we wanted to just make mention that T Clinics USA is one of those places. Now, Alex and Jeff, who you see in this podcast frequently, they're probably in this podcast right now with me, they are from T Clinics USA. And as they've shown in episode after episode, details is what matters. So just because you may want something or think you need something, they are going to make sure that you are getting the thing that is right for the goal that you have. And what's better is they offer a 10% introduction discount to anyone who is listening to the ManLab. So that is you. So if you wanted to make use of that, get peptides or testosterone from a place that you can trust that have your goals in mind and want to show you the right way to get there, go to tclinicsusa.com, mention the ManLab for 10% off your first package, and you can even ask Alex or Jeff directly any questions you may or may not have, which is kind of cool. So just again, tclinicsusa.com. If you don't want to remember that, the link is in the description of wherever you are listening or watching this podcast. Mention the ManLab in the contact form and you will receive 10% off your first package. Now let's get back to the show.
My wife and I just bought her mom creatine because after reading all these studies, and not just because of this like podcast, but you know, I've been hearing so much and doing my own. I've used creatine religiously since I was probably 27 years old. So I mean, like I've always been using creatine.
14.
Yeah. I mean, I travel with creatine. Like it's like that important to me.
I just put like a scoop in my first bottle of water each morning, and you know.
Yeah, so me, like I train in the morning. I put it in the glass of water that I drink. I take my like pre-workout pills and stuff with. I take a few other little pre-workout pill type of stuff, you know.
I do 5 and 5.
Caffeine
5 pre
and then
with
5
electrolytes,
during.
and then I usually put it in my beverage that I drink while I train with
me too.
electrolytes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I do
pre
5.
and during.
Free and intro.
5 pre and then 5 during.
And but 10 in your case, like, are you trying to? Is there any difference? Like,
I mean, I noticed like because listen, when it was brought to the market, it was meant for muscular endurance, more for high intensity type activities, explosive type athletes or sports. That was kind of like what brought
Is
it
it
to the
banned
market.
in any professional organizations that you're with?
You know
like
what?
football
Like
player,
WADA and
NFL,
stuff.
and a lot of
I listen. I'd have to relook at that list. That list used to be so small, and now they list everything all the way down to like beta blockers for golfers.
Yeah,
And,
it's
like it's
crazy
crazy how much they blanket a lot of it now. I mean, but it's.
I think they do
could
that, by
argue.
the way, a lot now
Just to
because they use those
discourage.
as masking agents
Yep.
to block steroid use. I think that I was reading this one thing where, because I was like, same thing, why beta blockers?
Well, when you
and
think
have
about a
these things.
golfer or somebody who has to be calm and smooth with no like anxiety or like that's a
Oh, okay. Well, I also read like some of these drugs that you would think like there's no performance enhancing component to it. It's because they use that drug as a way to mask another drug when it comes to some of the testing components. And so, although that drug that you think like, well, there's no reason why that would make me a better sports player, it's not that. It's just that drug can mask or hide the other drug from being seen that would have had a direct effect. But I don't know.
Creatine would be a rough one because it's like if you're
Again,
eating
you eat
steak,
steak, it's
tons, like,
now you can't eat steak. So
I mean, you'd have to eat a few pounds worth to
Yeah,
get
I
a decent
would-
dose. But
That's definitely something I want to. I mean, it doesn't matter for us. We don't like.
yeah. What brands would you recommend? You know,
I would just make sure you have like a good. I mean, there's so many companies now you get at Walmart.
Well, there's a lot
Actually,
of like market employees. So there's micronized.
Well-
there's so micronized. There's monohydrate. There's some people that will add it to like a liposomal agent.
buffered because like, so don't waste your money. Honestly, monohydrate. It's the most studied. like when it
creatine
comes to
monohydrate.
company, just make sure it's a reputable company.
I use Evogen.
Yeah, Evogen's a good company.
Buying that on Amazon, is that okay?
You can do it on Amazon. Listen, it's so cheap. And so, like, no
It
one's
would
going
be
to try to
and the
counterfeit
texture of
that.
creatine is very unique to itself. Like how fine.
Oh,
of a
I like
powder it is.
micronized because you obviously, if you're drinking it, you don't want
There's no
like,
grittiness to it.
Yeah.
Again, I said that before in the last podcast. I don't buy shit on Amazon anymore. After reading these studies, dude, I mean, you get stuff
that
with,
one you're probably pretty safe. No one's going to
I
counterfeit.
don't know, like
some
why?
creatine
Well, just I
monohydrate.
mean, listen, guys. Amazon, fuck Jeff Bezos. Like, he has enough money. Buy as much of these things as you can.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. I would fuck him. I'm just kidding.
Whoa. All right.
That turned
That's on
really
another
quick.
podcast.
That's a different one.
But no,
Anyway.
but seriously, like, guys, just be careful buying supplements on Amazon only because, again, a lot of it's counterfeited. You just don't know what you're getting.
When
I buy mine directly from the brands.
Yeah.
I just trust them. It may cost me $1 or $2 more, but in the end, I don't take a lot of supplements myself. When it comes to sports stuff, I use that and an intra-workout amino acid. I buy them from the companies.
And I'll tell you, like I was going to say it on the last episode that we did, is like, don't cut a corner when it comes to your health. You don't have to pay top dollar. Do your research. Find the reputable companies.
Yeah.
Like with anything for yourself, just don't cut.
Yeah.
Don't take the shortcut or the cheap
Creatine only
route.
cost me like what, $35 a month or something like that.
Not
It's
even.
Yeah,
It is
no,
it's
so
like
cheap.
it probably is even less, like half
It's
of
so
that could
cheap.
last.
Like,
Yeah, the one thing I would tell
15
don't
days.
don't bother with this like liposomal one. I know that's kind of the new little kick. Everybody's tying it to it's very stable. It survives the gut quite well.
Yeah.
That's one agent that you can add to it if it does give you a digestive problem, like because the liposomal, the fat additive, would help the body like absorb it better. It is super not necessary. It makes it extremely more expensive. It's like goes from like $30 to $70. There's no uptake benefit. I would just say take like an extra gram if you're that concerned about the absorption. Don't buy it in like those gummies. Like I mean, just there's no taste to it. Like just put it in your water or put it in whatever you drink. You're just it's all these things that make it. Unless I guess arguably you need the convenience of taking it on the road, but they do make it in pills. It's just the same powder. They just capsulate them. You could pop like 3 or 4 of them. Again, just to kind of cap this show, like everybody who's listening, I don't care if you work out. I don't care if this is something you're thinking about for your wife or your daughter or your kid or your grandparents. Be on creatine. Like it's very long term. Healthy for you. It'll provide health benefits beyond what you can imagine. You will look better, feel better, you will think better, and you will be overall healthier. It's a great supplement.
To go with NAD, your methylene blue,
everything else that we do.
Everything that's working.
We don't
for
even sell
cell.
it. This is simply like we're just trying to give the information out to get people to know what's out there. We're going to do a couple of shows like this about fundamentally necessary, just things that exist that even though we don't market or sell or have, but we just want everybody to
have
know.
a true benefit to your health. I like NutriBio, by the way. It's a really good company. They
NutriBio?
not a lot of fillers in there. Prices
Is that
really
the clean
cut.
one that I got? What's the clean one?
Oh, is that the protein I sent you? They have
it
a
wasn't
really good
protein,
quality.
it was
They don't
creatine,
proteins.
clean. Or
Okay.
something.
Yeah, I mean they have Clean Athlete, which is actually a version of Douglas Laboratories.
Yeah.
That's
So that company, they abide to every like WADA and every
Yeah.
single like organization. Like there's nothing in any of their stuff that would be flagged. So
perfect.
it was designed for athletes that are professionals in mind. Because there are a lot of guys, I'll tell you what, a lot of guys that are professional ball players, they buy stuff and there's something in there that maybe isn't on the ingredient list, and they get in trouble
They
for
get
it.
flagged.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Because they want, of course, the outcome of the supplement to be better. So I remember years ago, and this is going back like 20 years back, it was Animal Packs or one of those
Well, no,
companies.
so there used to be back in the used to have like Agent Orange, which actually
They had like Winstrol in it.
well, and so that was, I think it was called like Muscle Provider. Back in the day, they used to get gangster.
They used
Like
to
when
put,
they would
D-ball
launch
and
stuff, they'd either have
because
like
they'd want
D-ball
like they'd
yeah.
want the reviews to come out. Everybody, this shit's amazing.
And
I
then
put
they'd
30
pull it
pounds
out
on
afterwards.
So for the first 2 months, everybody's raging like this is the best stuff ever. I remember some of the, they used to do that a lot with the over-the-counter erectile dysfunction drugs. They used to put real Viagra in them. And people were like, "This
Just
shit's
to get
amazing."
traction, yeah.
And then
like
everybody's
Viagra.
buying them, like the Blue Rhino or White Rhino or what the hell they're called. And then all of a sudden, come to find out, they have like real drugs in them. And
Those are called raging headache.
yeah. Then they were making the pre-workouts. They were putting like real amphetamines in them, like crazy stuff. So you got to be careful with supplements.
Yeah, America was wild 10 years ago.
Wow.
There's some gangster
Good
stuff
times.
back in
Good times.
Good times back then.
and that was the back in the day.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, if you want to go grab creatine, go to the actual website. Try avoid Amazon because of counterfeits that are available on those on the website. But yes, go to bit.ly/TClinics USA. Links in the description for 10% off your first package for anything other than creatine that they sell. And make sure to subscribe, and we'll be back next time.
Get
Peace.
jacked and juicy.